The oxygen sensors showed red across every display panel. Rella pressed her hand against the cool metal wall of the transport vessel, feeling the vibrations that meant another system was failing. Outside the observation window, stars drifted past in silence while inside, 30,000 Caladan refugees waited to see if anyone would answer their plea for help. 3 days ago, their world had burned. The war came without warning, turning green valleys into ash fields within hours. The gentle wind was never meant to carry so many, but desperation made people creative. Children slept in cargo holds. The elderly shared medical bay floors. Everyone rationed air and water, hoping it would last until they reached safety. Rella adjusted the broadcast frequency again, sending their distress signal into the void. Her species believed in community, in helping neighbors, in the basic decency of intelligent life. That belief was being tested now. 15 different galactic civilizations had received their call. None had responded. The Galactic Assembly's official channels sent automated replies about proper procedures and immigration quotas. Her communications officer, a young male named Tora, looked up from his station. His face carried the exhaustion they all felt. "Captain, we have a response." Rella's heart jumped. "Which species?" "The signature says Earth Defense Fleet, 3rd Expeditionary Group." Tora frowned at his screen. "They are confirming our coordinates and say they are coming." Earth, Rella searched her memory. Humans were newcomers to galactic space, barely a presence in local politics. Their home system was thousands of light years away, far beyond any reasonable patrol route. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Captain. They say estimated arrival is 14 hours. They are asking about our life support status and injury count." 14 hours. Rella ran the numbers in her head. Their oxygen would last maybe 20 hours if nothing else broke down. It was going to be close. "Send them our status. Tell them we can hold on." The reply came quickly. "Acknowledged, gentle wind. We are pushing our drives hard. Hold tight. Help is coming." Something in those simple words made Rella want to cry. Not the promise of rescue, though that mattered. It was the tone, the certainty, the absolute refusal to let strangers die alone in the dark. She broadcast the news to her passengers, and for the first time in days, she heard sounds of hope echoing through the corridors. 2 hours passed. Then sensors picked up new contacts dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 5 ships, moving fast, weapons hot. Rella recognized the signatures immediately and felt ice form in her stomach. "Hadron Raiders," Tora whispered. Everyone knew about the Hadrons. They hunted refugee ships like predators tracking wounded prey. Disabled vessels meant easy salvage. Desperate people meant profitable slaves. They had built an empire on the suffering of others. The lead Hadron ship broadcast on all frequencies. "Refugee transport, gentle wind. Power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in hull breaches and casualties. Comply and you will be treated fairly." Rella knew what fairly meant in Hadron terms. She looked at her crew, seeing the same defeat in their eyes. They had no weapons, no shields worth mentioning, no way to fight back. The transport was designed to carry people between peaceful worlds, not survive combat. "Captain, what do we do?" Tora asked. Before Rella could answer, space itself seemed to tear open. Multiple spatial distortions appeared, each one a doorway through folded space. Ships emerged, larger than the Hadron vessels, moving in perfect formation. 15 warships, their hulls painted in dark blues and grays, their weapon systems coming online with practiced precision. The lead human vessel opened a channel. "This is Commander Owen Harris of the Earth Defense Ship Relentless. Hadron forces, you are interfering with a rescue operation. Stand down and withdraw immediately. You have 30 seconds to comply." The Hadron commander laughed, the sound harsh and mocking across the open channel. "Humans, your reputation is built on rumors and exaggeration. We have claimed this salvage. Leave now or learn what real warships can do. 20 seconds, Harris said, his voice calm as still water. Rella watched the Hadron ships move into attack formation. They had dealt with merchant vessels and desperate civilians for so long, they had forgotten what actual military forces looked like. Or maybe they thought human military forces would be as soft as their diplomatic corps, unwilling to actually fight. 10 seconds. The Hadron commander gave his order to fire. The countdown reached 0. What happened next occurred so fast that Rella's eyes struggled to track it. The human ships moved like they were dancing, splitting into groups, creating overlapping fields of fire. Point defense systems came alive, filling space with precisely calculated destruction. Hadron missiles died before reaching their targets. Energy beams scattered against human armor that seemed impossibly thick. Human return fire was surgical. The first Hadron ship lost its weapons in 3 seconds. The second lost engine power 5 seconds after that. The third tried to turn and flee, but found itself trapped by human destroyers that had somehow positioned themselves perfectly to cut off escape routes. Within 2 minutes, 3 Hadron vessels drifted powerless in space. The remaining 2 ships attempted to run, their commanders finally understanding they had made a terrible mistake. Harris's voice came through again, still calm, still controlled. Pursue and disable. No kills, bring them in. 2 groups of human destroyers broke formation and chased the fleeing raiders. Rella watched on sensors as the chase ended quickly. The human ships were faster, more maneuverable, better designed. They caught the Hadron vessels and stripped their ability to fight or flee with the same precise violence. Silence filled the bridge of the gentle wind. Every Caladan present stared at the screens, trying to process what they had just witnessed. 5 Hadron warships, notorious across this entire sector, defeated in less than 5 minutes. Not destroyed, Rella noted. Disabled. The distinction seemed important. Harris opened a channel directly to the gentle wind. Captain Rella, this is Commander Harris. We are sending medical teams and engineers over now. Please prepare to receive assistance. You and your people are safe now. You have my word. Rella found her voice somehow. Commander, we cannot pay for this. We have nothing to offer. There was a pause, then Harris responded, and Rella could hear the smile in his voice. You called for help. We answered. That is what decent people do. Now let us help you fix your ship. The human shuttle docked with a soft thud that Rella felt through the deck plates. She stood with her senior crew in the main airlock, not knowing what to expect. Every species had its own customs, its own way of doing things. Humans were still mysterious to most of the galaxy, their culture largely unknown beyond military reports. The airlock cycled open and Commander Owen Harris stepped through, followed by 6 crew members carrying medical equipment. Rella had seen images of humans before, but pictures never captured the reality. Harris stood tall, his frame solid and powerful in a way that suggested his species came from a world that demanded strength. But his eyes were kind, and when he removed his helmet, his smile seemed genuine. Captain Rella, I am glad we arrived in time. Harris extended his hand in the human greeting gesture. Rella mimicked it, feeling the warmth and strength of his grip. My medical team will start with your injured. My engineers are already scanning your hull to prioritize repairs. We brought food, water, and oxygen supplies. Where do you need us most? The question caught Rella off guard. She had expected negotiations, discussions of terms, contracts for repayment. Instead, Harris seemed focused only on immediate needs. Our children's section lost climate control. It is getting very cold there. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Harris said, turning to a woman with dark hair and quick eyes. Take a team to the children's section. Get their environment stabilized first. On it, Commander. Rodriguez moved past with 4 engineers, their equipment floating behind them on grav sleds. Harris looked back at Rella. Show me what else needs fixing. The next 3 hours passed in a blur. Human engineers worked with efficiency that impressed Rella deeply. They asked questions, listened to answers, and solved problems with creative solutions. When Caladan technology did not match human equipment, they adapted. When language barriers created confusion, they used simple demonstrations and hand gestures. In the children's section, Rella watched Lieutenant Rodriguez sit cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by Caladan younglings. The engineer was explaining how the heating system worked using simple words and pictures drawn on a tablet. The children listened with wide eyes, asking questions that Rodriguez answered patiently. "Your people are very good with children," Rella observed. Rodriguez looked up with a grin. "I have 3 nephews back home. They taught me that complicated explanations just confuse everyone. Simple words work better." "But you are military personnel, not teachers." "We are humans first, soldiers second," Rodriguez said, returning to her work. "Besides, these kids have been through enough fear. They deserve to feel safe now." That word again, safe. Humans kept using it like it was something they could simply provide, like air or water. Rella was beginning to understand that for humans, safety was not just physical protection. It included comfort, dignity, and kindness. In the medical bay, human doctors worked alongside Caladan healers. The humans had brought portable medical scanners and medicine supplies, but more importantly, they brought patience. A young human medic named David spent 20 minutes calming an elderly Caladan who was terrified of the strange equipment. He explained each step, let the old one touch the scanner, showed how it worked harmlessly. "Your medical technology is more advanced than ours," a Caladan healer named Paula said to the human chief medical officer, Dr. Sarah Williams. "Maybe," Williams replied, not looking up from her work treating a child's broken arm. "But medicine is not just about technology. It is about caring for the patient, making them comfortable, treating them with respect. Those things are universal." Rella found Commander Harris on the engineering deck, watching his crew replace a failing power coupling. The work required precise coordination between human and Caladan engineers, and both groups were managing it smoothly. "Commander, I must ask you something," Rella said quietly. "Why are you really doing this?" Harris turned to face her fully, his expression serious. "You think there is a hidden reason?" Every species has motives. The Galactic Assembly speaks of cooperation, but their help always comes with contracts and obligations. You are giving us aid worth millions of credits and asking nothing in return. It does not make sense. "It makes perfect sense to us." Harris leaned against the railing. "My species has a long naval tradition, Captain. One of our oldest rules is that any vessel in distress receives help, no matter their flag or nation. We carried that tradition into space. But we are not even in human space. We are thousands of light years from your home. Distance does not change what is right." Harris watched his crew working below. "You know what I think about when I see your people, Captain Rella? I think about my grandmother's stories. She came from a place destroyed by war, fled on a ship with nothing but the clothes she wore. A foreign navy found them, brought them to safety, asked nothing in return except that someday, if she could, she should help someone else who needed it. And did she? She spent 40 years running a shelter for displaced people on Earth, helped thousands of families start new lives." Harris smiled at the memory. "She taught me that being strong enough to help means you have a responsibility to help. Power without compassion is just tyranny wearing different clothes." The ship's intercom crackled. "Commander Harris, this is Lieutenant Chen on the bridge. We have a priority transmission from Galactic Assembly Emergency Council." Harris raised his eyebrows. "Already, word travels fast." He looked at Rella. "With your permission, Captain, I will take this call on your bridge." They walked together through corridors that now felt warmer, both in temperature and atmosphere. Caladan refugees no longer looked fearful. Children played while human engineers worked nearby. Adults shared food with human crew members, exchanging stories despite language barriers. On the bridge, Harris accepted the transmission. The image of Counselor Murren appeared, her etherous features composed in what might have been concern or disapproval. Rella could never quite read etherous expressions. Commander Harris, I am Counselor Murren of the Galactic Assembly Emergency Council. We have been monitoring your activities in this sector. You have engaged in military action against Hadron forces in neutral space without proper authorization. We responded to a distress call, Harris said simply. You crossed sovereign boundaries with a military fleet. You attacked vessels engaged in legal salvage operations. Legal? Harris's voice went cold. Counselor, those vessels were preparing to enslave 30,000 refugees. If your laws call that legal, then your laws are wrong. Murren's eyes narrowed. You presume to judge galactic law, Commander. I presume to judge any law that allows the strong to prey on the weak. Harris crossed his arms. Now, do you have actual business with me, or are you just here to complain that we did not let innocent people die? The counselor was silent for a long moment, and Rella held her breath, certain that Harris had just created a diplomatic disaster. But then Murren's expression shifted into something that might have been respect. I need to understand your species, Commander. You will continue to respond to distress calls in this region. Harris did not hesitate, every single one. Long-range sensors detected the threat, while most of the Gentle Wind's passengers slept peacefully for the first time in days. The Hadron Dreadnought Marauder's fist dropped out of faster-than-light travel like a mountain materializing in space. It was massive, bristling with weapons, a ship designed not just for war, but for domination through overwhelming force. Rella stood on the bridge of the Gentle Wind, watching the tactical display with growing dread. Every Caladan present understood what this meant. War Chief Draken commanded that vessel, and his reputation for cruelty was known across 5 sectors. He had never retreated from any battle, never shown mercy to any defeated enemy. Captain, the dreadnought is hailing us, Tora said, his voice shaking. They demand the release of the captured Hadron crews and the withdrawal of all human forces. Commander Harris appeared on their main screen, his image calm despite the threat looming in space ahead of them. Captain Rella, please do not worry. My fleet will handle this. Commander, that is a dreadnought. It has more firepower than your entire fleet combined. Size is not everything in combat. Harris turned to someone off-screen. All ships, defensive formation delta, protect the Gentle Wind and the civilian vessels. Weapons free on my command only. Draken's voice boomed across all frequencies, deep and filled with absolute confidence. Human Commander, I am War Chief Draken of the Hadron Supremacy. I have destroyed more ships than you have seen stars. This is your final warning. Release my warriors and leave, or I will crush your fleet and take the refugees as compensation for my losses. Harris responded in that same calm tone that Rella was beginning to recognize as dangerous. War Chief Draken, I am Commander Owen Harris of Earth Defense Ship Relentless. Your warriors are being held under military law and will face trial for attempted piracy. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. I suggest you take it. Draken's laugh echoed through space. You dare speak to me of law while harboring my people. You dare threaten the Hadron Supremacy with your toy ships. I will teach you respect, human. I will break your vessels and scatter your crew across the void. Last chance, Draken. I am done talking. The Marauder's fist opened fire with everything it had. Energy beams thick as starship hulls lanced across space. Missiles streaked forward in swarms that looked like metal locusts. Plasma charges bloomed like deadly flowers. It was enough firepower to annihilate a small moon. The human ships scattered in patterns that looked random but clearly were not. Point defense systems came alive, creating overlapping webs of protective fire. Missiles died by the dozens. Energy beams splashed against hulls that somehow absorbed the incredible heat. The few hits that connected seemed to do minimal damage, like throwing rocks at armored tanks. Human return fire started small, testing, probing. Each shot targeted specific systems on the massive dreadnought. Draken's ship could absorb such attacks easily, its shields and armor layers designed to withstand sustained bombardment. But the humans were not trying to destroy it. They were learning it. They are mapping his defenses, Rella breathed, understanding slowly dawning. They fight like scientists studying a problem. The battle continued for 20 minutes. To Draken, it must have seemed like he was winning. The human ships kept dodging, kept taking minimal hits, kept retreating slightly. He pressed forward, confident in his superiority, certain that eventually the smaller vessels would make mistakes. He did not realize he was the one making the mistake. Harris's voice came through clear and precise. All ships, execute pattern Hunter 7. Target packages are assigned. Fire on my mark. The human fleet changed instantly. Ships that had been retreating suddenly accelerated into attack positions. Destroyers that had seemed scattered came together in perfect coordination. Every vessel fired at once, but not at random targets. The Marauder's Fist had 60 weapon systems. In 30 seconds, 40 of them went offline, destroyed by precisely aimed shots that seemed to know exactly where to hit. Shield generators exploded internally as human weapons found weak points that should not have existed. Engine pods lost power as key components were surgically removed by long-range fire. Draken tried to rotate his ship, bringing undamaged weapons to bear. But human vessels had positioned themselves at angles that made rotation ineffective. Every time he turned one direction, he exposed weaknesses in another. The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves hunting something much larger, each one knowing exactly where to strike, when to retreat, when to press forward. On the Gentle Winds Bridge, Rella watched in amazement as military doctrine she had learned her entire life was proven completely wrong. Galactic warfare was about shields and armor, about big ships overpowering smaller ones through superior firepower. But humans fought differently. They fought smart. Another 10 minutes passed. The Marauder's Fist was now effectively defenseless, 60% of its weapons destroyed, engines damaged, life support flickering. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. Damage to the human fleet was minimal, easily repairable. The destroyer Jackson had lost some armor plating. The frigate Soul needed a new communications array. That was it. Harris opened a channel to the dreadnought. War Chief Draken, power down your remaining weapons. Your vessel is defeated. Surrender now and your crew will be treated according to military law. You will receive medical attention, food, water, and humane detention. You have my word. Draken's response was slow in coming, his voice no longer confident. You would take prisoners. You would not kill us. We are not barbarians, War Chief. We do not execute defeated enemies. I do not understand. I came to destroy you. I threatened your people. Why show mercy? Because that is who we choose to be, Harris said simply. We are strong enough to destroy you. We are also strong enough to choose not to. Power without restraint is not strength. It is just cruelty with better weapons. The dreadnought powered down its weapons slowly, reluctantly. Hadron warriors were trained never to surrender, but they were also practical. Continuing this fight meant certain death against an enemy who could kill them all but chose not to. Human Marines boarded the massive vessel carefully, treating the Hadron crew with professional respect. They confiscated weapons but provided medical care immediately. They secured prisoners but offered food and water. Draken himself was escorted to the Relentless, where he sat in a detention cell that was clean, well lit, and comfortable. Lieutenant Rodriguez brought him a meal, real food, not prisoner rations. Draken stared at it suspiciously. Why? Because you are a prisoner, not an animal, Rodriguez said. We feed our prisoners. We give them medical care. We treat them like intelligent beings even when they are our enemies. This makes no sense. You defeated us. You could do anything. We could, but we choose to be better than that. Rodriguez turned to leave, then paused. War Chief, you said you wanted to teach Commander Harris respect. Maybe you are the one learning today. Draken sat alone in his cell, eating food that was actually good, in a room that was actually decent, being treated with actual dignity. For the first time in his long military career, he questioned everything he thought he knew about power and strength. On the bridge of the gentle wind, Rella received a transmission from deep space monitoring stations. The entire battle had been recorded. Multiple species had watched the engagement on long-range sensors. Word was spreading across local space faster than light-speed communication. The humans had fought a dreadnought and won. Then they had shown mercy. The galaxy was watching now, and it was confused. The communications board in the Relentless Operations Center lit up like a festival display. Messages poured in from across local space, some official, many not. Distress calls, pleas for help, desperate transmissions from species that Rella had never heard of. They all had one thing in common. They were calling specifically for Earth. Commander Harris stood in the operations center, reading the reports with an expression that mixed pride with growing concern. Lieutenant Chen worked frantically to categorize the incoming messages. Sir, we have 17 confirmed distress calls now. No, wait, 23. They keep coming. How far spread? Harris asked. Across 5 sectors, Commander. Some are more than a week's travel at maximum speed. Harris ran a hand through his hair. A gesture Rella was learning meant he was thinking hard about something difficult. She had asked to be present for this conversation, to understand what came next. The gentle wind was repaired now, ready to continue to safety, but Rella found she could not simply leave. Not after everything she had seen. Commander, we need to talk about logistics, said Chief Engineer Patricia Moore, a woman with graying hair and sharp eyes. Our fuel reserves are at 60%. Spare parts are running low. The crew has been working double shifts for 4 days straight. We cannot maintain this pace indefinitely. I know, Chief. Do you, sir? Because every time we answer one distress call, 5 more appear. Word is spreading that Earth responds to anyone in need. That is noble. It is also mathematically impossible. Harris looked at the star map showing all the incoming distress signals. Each one represented thousands of lives, people desperate enough to broadcast into space hoping someone would care. Get me a secure channel to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. The connection took several minutes to establish, jumping through relay stations and quantum entanglement nodes. When the image finally appeared, Fleet Admiral Patricia Stone looked tired but determined. Her office on Earth showed early morning light through windows overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Commander Harris, I have seen your reports, Stone said without preamble. I have also seen the political situation you have created. Admiral, I followed standard naval protocol. Any vessel in distress receives aid. I am not criticizing your actions, Commander. I am telling you about consequences. Stone pulled up a data display. Since your engagement with Hadron forces went public, we have received 43 distress calls. That number is growing by the hour. Refugee groups across 3 sectors are deliberately broadcasting toward human space. They need help, Admiral. I know they do. The question is, can we provide it? Stone leaned forward. I had a meeting with the civilian government this morning. It lasted 6 hours. Some politicians argue we should focus on Earth security first. Others say this is exactly why we went to the stars, to be part of something larger than ourselves. Harris waited, knowing this conversation would determine more than just his mission. The vote was close, Commander, but humanity has made its choice. We are mobilizing reserve fleets and converting civilian vessels for relief work. Operation Beacon is officially authorized. Earth will respond to every distress call we can reach. Relief flooded through Harris. Thank you, Admiral. Do not thank me yet. This decision will make enemies. The The Galactic Assembly is already filing complaints. Species who profit from refugee crises are furious. Slaver cartels are organizing against us. You are not just rescuing people anymore, Commander. You are threatening an entire economic system built on exploitation. Good, Harris said flatly. Then we are doing the right thing. Stone smiled grimly. Spoken like a true naval officer, but be aware this gets harder from here. Earth is sending reinforcements, but they need time to arrive. Until then, you hold the line with what you have. After the transmission ended, Rella approached Harris carefully. Commander, may I speak freely? Always. Captain Rella. Your fleet is already stretched thin. Your crews are exhausted. You have made powerful enemies who will not forgive this interference. Why continue? You could escort us to safety and return to Earth space. No one would blame you. Harris walked to the observation window, looking out at the stars. Do you know what my grandfather told me when I joined the Navy, Captain? He said that the true measure of a person is what they do when no one is watching, when no one would know if they walked away. But everyone is watching now. Exactly, which means walking away is even less acceptable. Harris turned to face her. Every species in this region is watching to see what humans really are. Are we just another military power protecting our own interests? Or are we something different, something better? You are risking everything to prove a point. No, we are risking everything because it is right. There is a difference. A priority alert sounded. Lieutenant Chen looked up from his station, face pale. Commander, long-range sensors are detecting a large formation heading toward the main refugee convoy routes. The fleet composition includes Hadron battle groups, mercenary vessels, and ships from the Talon Confederacy. How many ships? Initial count is 47 vessels, sir. More might be hiding in their sensor shadow. The operations center went quiet. Everyone present understood what this meant. The enemy was organizing, moving from small raids to coordinated assault. They were targeting the largest refugee convoy, the one carrying over 200,000 displaced beings from 7 different species. What is our force protecting that convoy? Harris asked. 5 vessels, sir. The destroyers Portland and Memphis, frigates Dublin and Cairo, and the supply ship Mercy. 5 ships against 47. The math was brutal and clear. Harris studied the tactical display, his mind clearly racing through options. How long until the enemy fleet reaches the convoy? 3 days at their current speed. And how long until our reinforcements from Earth arrive? Chen checked his calculations. 5 days minimum, sir. Harris was silent for a long moment, the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. Every person in the operations center knew what he was thinking. They could concentrate their forces to defend that one convoy, but that meant leaving other refugee groups unprotected. They could try to evacuate the convoy, but where would 200,000 beings go in 3 days? Sir, Chen said quietly, we have an incoming transmission. Source signature is Aetheris, marked Priority 1. The image that appeared was Counselor Murren again, but her expression had changed. Instead of disapproval, she looked resolute. Commander Harris, my government has been observing your actions. We have had many debates about what we have seen. The conclusion is not what you might expect. Counselor, the Aetheris fleet is deploying 12 warships to assist with convoy protection. We will arrive in 2 days. Murren paused. My species has spent 10,000 years believing that survival meant staying neutral, avoiding conflict, protecting only our own. Watching your species has made us question those beliefs. Harris blinked, genuinely surprised. Counselor Murren, why? Because you shamed us, Commander. Not with words or judgment, but with action. You showed us what we should have been doing all along. The convoy stretched across space like a chain of lights in the darkness. 200,000 beings from 7 different species, traveling in vessels that ranged from proper transport ships to converted cargo haulers. They moved slowly, keeping formation, hopping to reach the neutral zone before trouble found them. Hope was all they had left. Aboard the lead transport, a Verdani elder named Moss Singer watched the tactical displays with growing fear. The Verdani were plant-based beings, their bodies more tree than flesh, their thoughts slow and deliberate. But even their peaceful nature could not hide from the reality approaching them. 47 warships coming fast, with clear hostile intent. "Will the humans truly fight for us?" asked a younger Verdani named Leaf Dancer. "We are not their people, they owe us nothing." Moss Singer thought about the message they had received from Commander Harris 2 days ago. The human had promised protection, promised that no harm would come to the convoy. His voice carried absolute certainty, the kind that came from someone who had never broken a promise. "I believe they will," Moss Singer said slowly, "though I do not understand why." The 5 human vessels assigned to convoy protection maintained position around the civilian ships. They seemed so small compared to the approaching enemy fleet. Moss Singer had seen the recordings of human combat against the Hadron Dreadnought, but that battle was different. That was 15 human ships against one enemy. This was 5 against 47. On the bridge of the destroyer Portland, Captain Daniel Foster reviewed the tactical situation for the 100th time. The math had not improved. 5 ships could not hold off 47, not in any reasonable scenario. But Commander Harris's orders were clear. Hold the line. Protect the convoy. Reinforcements were coming, both human and aetherish. They just needed to survive long enough for those reinforcements to arrive. "Captain, I have an idea," said Lieutenant James Wung, the Portland's tactical officer. "It is crazy, but it might work." "In our current situation, I will take crazy," Foster said. Wung brought up a star chart. "The enemy fleet is coming through the Kelly's corridor, the fastest route to our position. But there is an asteroid field here, the Shattered Belt. If we could lure them through that field, their numerical advantage becomes less important. Big fleets have trouble maneuvering in tight spaces." "How do we lure them? They are not going to change course just because we ask nicely." "We make ourselves look vulnerable, pull back like we are retreating in fear. Their commander will think we are easy prey and chase us, lead them right into the asteroids." Foster considered it. The plan had risks. If the enemy did not take the bait, the convoy would be exposed. If the asteroids did not slow them down enough, 5 ships would still face impossible odds. But sitting here waiting to be overwhelmed was not better. "Do it, send the plan to the other ships, coordinate timing." The human vessels began their performance. They pulled back slightly from the convoy, their formation loosening. They broadcast communications that suggested equipment failures, fuel concerns, and crew nervousness. They made themselves look exactly like what they were, a small force facing overwhelming numbers. The enemy fleet, led by Hadron War Marshal Corvin, took the bait perfectly. Corvin had assembled this coalition specifically to destroy human credibility. He wanted to prove that Earth's protection was worthless, that their promises were empty words. Seeing the human ships retreat filled him with satisfaction. "They run like cowards," Corvin announced to his fleet. "Chase them down, destroy them quickly, then take the convoy." The enemy fleet accelerated, hungry for victory. They followed the retreating human ships directly toward the Shattered Belt, never suspecting a trap. By the time they realized where they were heading, momentum carried them into the asteroid field. Space became chaos. Large warships that relied on formation fighting found themselves dodging massive rocks. Sensors were confused by mineral deposits that mimicked ship signatures. Communications became difficult as asteroids blocked line of sight. The tightly organized fleet scattered into smaller groups, each one trying to navigate the deadly maze. The human ships, smaller and more maneuverable, moved through the field like they had trained there for years. They used the asteroids for cover, appearing from behind rocks to fire precisely aimed shots before disappearing again. They coordinated perfectly despite communication difficulties, each ship knowing exactly where the others were. Hostile destroyer at Mark 7 behind the Iron Core asteroid, one called out. Firing solution ready. Take the shot, Foster ordered. The Portland emerged from behind an asteroid, fired 3 times at specific points on the enemy ship, and dove back into cover before return fire could reach them. The hostile destroyer lost engine power and drifted helplessly, unable to pursue. This pattern repeated across the battlefield. Human ships appeared, struck precisely, and vanished. The enemy fleet, so confident in their numbers, found those numbers meant nothing when they could not coordinate. Ships collided with asteroids. Weapons missed targets because sensors could not track properly. Formations fell apart. Then the Aetherus arrived. 12 Aetherus warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation at the edge of the asteroid field. They were elegant vessels, their hulls shimmering with energy fields that seemed almost alive. Counselor Murren commanded the fleet personally, her voice broadcasting to both human and enemy forces. This is Counselor Murren of the Aetherus Protectorate Fleet. Hostile vessels, you are attacking refugees under protection. Cease your assault immediately. Corvin, frustrated and angry at the human tactics, saw the Aetherus ships and made a fatal mistake. He assumed they would be like other galactic assembly forces, unwilling to actually fight. The Aetherus do not interfere. You are neutral by your own laws. We were neutral, Murren said quietly. We are not anymore. The Aetherus ships opened fire with weapons that bent light itself. Energy beams curved around asteroids, hitting targets that thought they had cover. Defensive fields extended to protect human vessels, sharing shield technology that Earth did not possess yet. The 12 Aetherus warships fought with precision that came from 10,000 years of military history. The enemy coalition began to break. Mercenary vessels, paid for combat not suicide, started retreating. Smaller Hadron ships followed, their commanders realizing this battle was lost. Within 30 minutes, more than half the enemy fleet was in full retreat. Corvin, aboard his command ship, watched his coalition falling apart. He tried to rally his forces, but fear had replaced confidence. The humans had outmaneuvered him. The Aetherus had outgunned him. Worst of all, he heard reports coming in that other species were dispatching ships to help defend refugee convoys. War Marshal, we must withdraw, his second officer urged. Corvin slammed his fist against his command console. He had assembled this fleet to break human resolve, to prove they could not protect everyone. Instead, he had proven the opposite. He had shown the galaxy that Earth would keep its promises, and that others were inspired to follow. All ships retreat, he ordered bitterly. The remaining enemy vessels fled the asteroid field, leaving behind 18 disabled ships and one very confused group of refugees. 6 months after the first distress call, the galaxy looked different, not in physical structure, but in the patterns of how beings moved through it. Refugee routes that once led to detention centers or worse now led to protected corridors. Species that once preyed on the desperate now faced coordinated resistance. Change spread like ripples from a stone thrown into still water. Rella stood on the observation deck of the new orbital station humanity had built in cooperation with the Aetherus. They called it Haven Station, and the name was accurate. 15 species lived here now, helping coordinate relief efforts across 5 sectors. The station served as supply depot, medical center, diplomatic hub, and symbol of what cooperation could achieve. She watched ships come and go through the station's massive docking arms. Human vessels worked alongside Aetherus cruisers. Verdani medical ships shared berths with Caladan transports. Even 3 former Hadron warships, their crews reformed and retrained, now served as escort vessels for refugee convoys. The galaxy was learning that people could change when given reason and opportunity. Captain Rella, the assembly is ready, a human voice said behind her. She turned to see Lieutenant Rodriguez, now promoted to Commander Rodriguez after her actions during the asteroid field battle. "Thank you, Commander. I will be right there." The main conference room held representatives from 23 species. Some were old members of the Galactic Assembly. Others were newcomers or species that had never joined formal galactic politics. What united them was not treaties or contracts, but shared values about helping those in need. Commander Harris stood at the head of the table, reviewing reports with Counselor Murren. The Aetheris had become humanity's strongest ally, their ancient wisdom combining with human determination to create something neither species could have achieved alone. Other species had joined as well, each bringing their own strengths to what was now being called the Beacon Alliance. "We have 47 active convoys moving through protected space," Harris began the meeting. "Refugee settlements on 14 worlds are becoming self-sufficient. Medical teams have treated more than 2 million beings for various ailments. Engineering Corps have repaired 800 civilian vessels." Moss Singer, the Verdani elder, spoke in their slow, deliberate way. "The Verdani offer 12 agricultural ships to help establish food production at new settlements. Our people grow things well. We would like to help others put down roots." A Luminar representative, her crystalline body refracting light in rainbow patterns, added her support. "The Luminar will provide advanced medical fabricators. We have technology that can produce medicine from basic organic compounds. This will help settlements become independent faster." Rella listened to each species offering their unique contributions. The humans provided military protection and logistics. The Aetheris offered diplomatic expertise and advanced shields. The Verdani brought agricultural knowledge. The Luminar shared medical technology. Together, they were building something that transcended individual species' interests. "We have a new challenge," Murren said, pulling up a star chart. "The Talon Confederacy has closed their borders to all refugee traffic. They claim we are destabilizing their region by encouraging mass migrations. They are angry because their mining operations relied on cheap labor from desperate refugees," Rodriguez said bluntly. "Now that refugees have options, the Talons cannot exploit them anymore." "Regardless of their motives, closed borders create problems," Murren continued. "Several refugee groups are trapped in Talon space. They cannot move forward, cannot return home." Harris studied the map. "Can we negotiate with the Talon government?" "They refuse all communications with the Beacon Alliance. They see us as threats to their economic system." The room fell quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. The Talons would rather let refugees die than change their exploitative practices. It was exactly the kind of problem that had no easy military solution. A voice spoke up from an unexpected corner. War Chief Draken, the Hadron commander who had been defeated 6 months ago, now served as an advisor to the Alliance. His time in human custody had changed him profoundly. "I may have a suggestion. The Talons respect strength and direct action. They will not respond to diplomacy because they do not believe you will follow through. Show them you are serious." "How?" Harris asked. "Send a fleet to the Talon border. Not to attack, but to evacuate the trapped refugees. Do it publicly, broadcast your intentions clearly. Force the Talons to either allow safe passage or fire on ships conducting humanitarian operations. They will back down rather than look like villains to the entire galaxy." Murren considered this carefully. "It is risky. If the Talons do fire on us, we face a much larger conflict." "But if we do nothing, innocent beings die," Harris said quietly. "That is not acceptable." The vote was unanimous. The Beacon Alliance would send a joint fleet to Talon space, offer one last chance for peaceful cooperation, and evacuate refugees regardless of Talon objections. It was a calculated risk, but one that aligned with the Alliance's core principles. 2 weeks later, a fleet of 40 vessels approached the Talon border. Human, Aetheris, Verdani, Luminar, and reformed Hadron ships moved together in formation that demonstrated both capability and coordination. Commander Harris broadcast on all frequencies, explaining their purely humanitarian mission. The Talon government watched from their capital world, debating how to respond. They had expected the alliance to fade away, to lose interest once the initial enthusiasm wore off. Instead, it had grown stronger, more organized, more committed. Firing on this fleet would make the Talons the clear aggressors in the eyes of the entire galaxy. After 3 tense days, the Talon borders opened. Refugee convoys moved out under Alliance protection, while Talon leaders claimed they were simply allowing free passage as they had always intended. Everyone knew the truth, but sometimes allowing face-saving lies was part of diplomacy. Rella watched the last refugee ship clear Talon space and felt satisfaction deep in her core. This was what the Beacon Alliance had become, a force that made cruelty unprofitable and compassion practical, not through conquest or domination, but through consistent, principled action. She found Harris alone in the observation deck later that evening, watching stars drift past. "Commander, or should I say Admiral Harris now that Earth has promoted you?" Harris smiled. "Commander is fine, rank matters less than results." "I have been thinking about that first day when you responded to our distress call," Rella said. "You had no idea what it would lead to, no idea how much it would cost or how many would follow, yet you came anyway. We did what needed doing." "But why? I still do not fully understand why humans care so much about strangers." Harris was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. "My species has made many mistakes, Captain Rella. We have hurt each other, fought wars over resources and beliefs, done terrible things out of fear or greed. But we also learned something important from all that suffering. We learned that the galaxy is too big and too dangerous to face alone. We learned that the only way forward is together. Other species know this too, yet they do not act on it. Because knowing something and feeling it are different." Harris turned to face her. "When you called for help, I did not think about treaties or payment or strategic advantage. I thought about my grandmother fleeing her burning home. I thought about every time someone in my family's history needed help and received it. I thought about all the times strangers became friends because someone chose kindness over indifference." Rella understood then. Humans did not help because it was logical or profitable. They helped because they remembered being helpless, and they refused to let others feel that way if they could prevent it. "The galaxy is changing," she said softly. "Yes, and we are just beginning."